PNB as well highlight their quarterly numbers. A good time then to bring in the CMD of the bank, Mr. K.R. Kamath, join in to talk about how the quarter went by. Mr. Kamath, hi, afternoon. Thanks for taking time out and joining us. Now, I really want to start talking about the asset quality, which has shown deterioration after some stability that we saw in the second half of the last fiscal. What's been the kind of slippages, that you've incurred this quarter?
No, I did mention this in my press meet. I don't know whether you captured it or not. See, this quarter we had a slippage of 3,594 crore, which consisted of one single group exposure of 1,656 crore in the gems and jewelry segment. Now, if you keep this one-off slippage out, the slippage has been 1,938 crore and my reduction has been 1,969 crore. So if you look at it, what consistency you were talking in the last two quarters, that is also seen in this quarter. But for one group account, large group account slipping into NPA, the numbers are absolutely seen differently today. So I'm just trying to drive home a point that the consistency which you saw in the last two quarters has been maintained in terms of the incremental slippages being less than the reduction.
Mr. Kamath, would it be fair to then say that over the next couple of quarters, we're likely to maintain, the PNB is likely to maintain the same level of asset quality as it did in the second half of last fiscal, or could we even see an improvement going forward?
Now we are working on this, we are continuously working on how do we recover more and bring down the pressure of asset quality in the bank. But at the same time, I need to tell that, the asset quality is a function of what is happening in the economy, and then there is a stress in the economy which we cannot deny today. So unless there are some improvements which is seen in the economic activities, which we are quite hopeful, because there have been steps taken by the government, especially the finance minister has taken steps to see that the large stalled projects are put back on the rails to produce. I mean, if and when these things happen, probably we can see that the stress on the books will get, that will get easy.
Mr. Kamath, I just want to go back to the point that you were making about asset quality stress when it comes to the gems and jewelry space. We did, listen to your press meet as well, and you did highlight your exposure to Winsome Diamonds, which turned out to be a bad debt for you this quarter. Are there any other companies from the same sector where you do have exposure?
We have an exposure to this sector, but I'm not sure that is there any company getting into a problem. But our exposure to the gems and jewelry compared to all other banks is, I think, probably it is much less.
Mr. Kamath, which are the other sectors that...
immediately with me.
Sure. Mr. Kamath, I was asking, which are the other sectors which, continue to remain under stress for the industry at large and also for PNB specifically?
See, the basic sector which has been under stress has been the power sector. It continues to be under stress, and that contributes to the major amount of our restructured book also. Now, other than that, we are seeing a stress in textiles, construction industry, to some extent, and iron and steel. These are the four major sectors which are under stress.
So is there a possibility of any of your accounts in the power sector to go bad in the future quarters?
As of now, I don't see any reason for me to believe that, but then it is again a question of what happens in the next 2 months. But then I think we don't have anything on hand which I can say that yes, this account may slip in power sector.
Let's talk about margins as well. They've been maintained at 3.5% to about 3.6% levels since last few quarters. What have been the key drivers, and what kind of a range can we expect over the next couple of quarters?
See, we have been working on the margins from the cost route, and we have been consistently I would say that for the last at least 16 quarters where I'm here, I think we have been maintaining the margins at 3.5%. Now, basically we achieve it through the cost route, and as I mentioned, my interest expenses have come down by about 5.5% compared to my interest income going down by about 1.5%. As a strategy, we adopted consolidation route, and we shed almost like about 50,000 crores of deposit from the bulk, and that has resulted into reduction in my interest paid and deposit. So I did mention in the press meet that only area where the interest expenses increased is on savings bank account. There the interest expenses increased by about 15%, and on the term deposit the interest expenses came down. Now this shows the stability of my deposit portfolio as well as my ability to reduce the cost of deposit, which has contributed to my NIM. At the beginning of the year, I said that looking at the stress this year, the NIM may come down from 3.52 to maybe up to 3.25. But I'm very happy that one quarter I've been in a position to maintain at 3.5, and our effort will continue to maintain at that level.
Mr. Kamath, that's quite interesting. I just want to stretch that point a bit forward, because although there has been asset quality stress for you guys this quarter, there has been reduction in the provision cover and provisions are down on a sequential basis. What's the rationale for the reduced provision cover for you this quarter?
I think, see, a provision coverage ratio is to be, seen in a different context, because, you need to make a regulatory provision for fresh slippages. And the regulatory provision for any fresh slippage is 15% if it is a substandard asset. Now, if you have a 3,400 or 3,500 crore of getting into fresh slippages where you are expected to normally make a provision of 15%, and your provision coverage ratio is 58%, naturally the provision coverage ratio will come down. It is not correct to say that there has been a reduction in the provision, because provision is made as per the regulatory requirement. But if you have got larger profit, if like we made some profit last quarter from the treasury, and we did put some money, extra money into the provisioning. Even in the last year, we had, in the first quarter, we had some good profit, we had put some additional money into the provisioning. To that extent, the provision this quarter is seen as less than the previous quarter. But otherwise, we have made all regulatory provisions required. In fact, we have made more than what is regulatorily required to provide what numbers we have given. And as we go along, definitely we'll work for improving the provision coverage ratio.
A quick word, Mr. Kamath, on the slew of measures taken by the central bank so far and the kind of impact that it could potentially have both on your margins and also on your treasury book.
Well, I did mention that I first of all see these as temporary measures taken by the regulator to keep the exchange price under control, and as a country we could not have afforded to allow our rupee to go beyond 60 per dollar. So to that extent, there was a need for the regulator to act, and they have taken these steps. That has put some temporary pressure on all of us. The immediate pressure is that the liquidity has got suck off from the system, and I did mention that the need to maintain 99% CRR will take away a little more from that what we would have lent. Fortunately for us, we have remained liquid in the last 9 months, and we don't see that liquidity pressure even with these measures getting implemented. But definitely it will put some pressure on our profitability, because the income what we have earned by lending the excess cash comes down. On the other side, our yields have gone up substantially, and then that is impacting my valuation on the treasury book. I'm sure that before the end of the next quarter, there will be a rollback happening on this, and then probably we will see some amount of a regularization of what the disproportionate impact that creates now on our books.
Mr. Kamath, well, this time it has been the gems and jewelry space. Like you just pointed out, you have an exposure of 20% to the infrastructure sector as well as 10% to power. Can we expect any improvement in your asset quality in the next quarter, or do you think things will remain status quo, or is there a chance that it may just worsen?
I don't think that there is a reason for me to feel that it will worsen, because even last time I said this, if you take this one account, group account out, I'm again coming back to that point that whatever we have been in a position to do in terms of containment of NPAs within the reductions, we have made it for the third quarter also. So I'm sure that fourth quarter also will come back with a similar performance. I mean, the second quarter also will come back with a similar performance, where our fresh slippages will be kept under the reductions.
Okay, Mr. Kamath, really appreciate you taking the time out and speaking with us on ET Now, and only hope that your asset quality improves if doesn't remain stable in the next few quarters.